So Amin is my press secretary. How we're going to work it, I'm just going to go over briefly, very briefly, my accomplishments in the first, let's say 3 and a few months. And we have a lot more to do. And if you want a copy of this page, I'd be more than happy to give it to you. So, in the first three and a half years, I ran on a platform of saving taxpayers' money, of a transparent and reducing the size and cost of government, and customer service excellence, and I fulfilled all my pillars. I eliminated the personal vehicle tax for savings of $200 million. This is over 4 years. I reduced the council and the mayor's budget over 4 years. That's $6.5 million. Contracted out garbage, everything west of Yonge Street. That's the number I have is $78 million. It's going to be higher than that as you saw the first numbers come in. And the efficiency savings in 2011, my administration saved $57 million. In 2012, we saved a record $327 million. In 2013, $222 million. And this year, we're projected, and this is not including it, $150 million. From savings from the new collective agreement with the unions, we've saved $89 million. These are not my numbers. These are the numbers from the CFO, Rob Rossini. If you have any questions about that, he'd be more than happy to verify all these numbers. These are his documents he gave to me. The savings are well over $1 billion. And some people may argue, you know, $1 million here, $1 million there. Well, these are the facts. And Joe Penichetti, our CEO, has backed that up. Or unemployment, obviously. I'm a businessman. I come from a business background. I know how to meet a payroll. I know the value of $1. I know what customer service excellence is. And I know how to meet a payroll and create a job. In the last 3 years, these are low numbers right now. There's 58,000 more people working in Toronto than there was 3 years ago. And in just 1 year, just last year alone, there's 35,000 more people working. And we've experienced, you can see for yourself, 3 years of consecutive growth. The city's actually booming. We have over 170 cranes in the sky. And I always say, when you look at one crane, it's equivalent to 1,000 jobs. Growth is, a lot of people say it's just in the downtown core. Most of it is, but there's still a lot in Scarborough, Etobicoke, and North York. And like I said at the beginning, job creation was a key platform when I was running, and I have fulfilled that. But it's just the beginning. I think you saw, I call it a mess that I inherited. I got into the TTC. We made TTC an essential service. You'll never see another transit strike in the city. With fire, last time there was fire stations built, we can't remember, built 4 new fire stations, new ambulance station, new EMS station. We hired 169 new paramedics. We're going to be hiring approximately in this year's budget 150 police. Toronto Community Housing, I think you all remember the mess, again, that I inherited at Toronto Community Housing. We cleared the board. We have sold off approximately 80 units. I wanted to sell off a lot more. Council didn't go for it. But right there, that's a savings of about approximately of $40 million. We're investing to pay down $751 million in repairs. There's a huge backlog in repairs at Toronto Community Housing. And nobody, no mayor, and I'm not tooting my own horn here, has gone into Toronto community housing and improved it like I have. I have toured the facilities. I have made the people that have been ignored they've told me for their whole life by politicians, I've made them a key part of our society. And I'm very proud of what I've done. And I look at it in a very practical way. And some people may take offense to this, but there's more poor people in the city than there are rich. And I look after the poor people. I take care of everybody, don't get me wrong. But the poor people, some people say you cater to them. You might say the word cater, I return all my phone calls, I go to their front door. But when you see people living in conditions like I've seen, it's inhumane sometimes. And we're not going to live in a city like that. When it came to, and I'm just going to go, and if you want to go down on one area, I'll go back to this. I made councillors more accountable. Before, there was no recorded votes. The attendance record is 30 times better than it was under the Miller and Glassman era, with councillors being in their seats. Because they have to record their vote now, taxpayers know where their councillors are at all times. You looked at the out-of-control MasterCards, all those credit cards are out, people didn't know who had them. They're all been brought in, senior managers, everything's online now. So that's true accountability of taxpayers' money. Whistleblower Protection Act. People were afraid to come forward and say so-and-so is, doing this and doing that on the job, and then they were getting fired. That's not going to happen anymore. We protect our workers. They're the eyes and ears to find out what's going wrong in the city. I've told you about the vehicle registration tax. My own salary, obviously, I froze they wanted to pay me, I think, $185,000. I went back to $170,000. Every raise that I've got, as every councillor has, I've donated it back to the city. I can only compare myself to David Miller. David Miller had a budget of $2.7 million. I reduced it down to $2 million, and council reduced it down to $800,000, which I didn't support, unfortunately, so that's up to the council. But I am surviving, and I'm doing the job that the taxpayers asked me to do. I talked about contracting out garbage. I want to emphasize our property tax increase is lower than any North American city similar to our size. We had a 0% tax increase the first year, 2.5% the second year, 2% this year, and I want 1 3/4 this year. We agreed on 1 3/4. They stripped my powers. They went up to 2.5. Now they're down to 2 1/4. We'll see what happens in the next coming weeks. The city staff, as you know, we have a bloated bureaucracy down here. Everyone knows it. I've reduced the staff by 1,400 positions. And that's not firing people, that's just through attrition. When they retire, we don't have to fill in that. People are doing more now. Our planned debt. Obviously, our planned debt was going like this. Our planned debt is now going like that. So over the next 10 years, the City of Toronto's planned debt, we're reducing it by approximately $804 million. So it is going in the right direction, and on top of that, we are spending over $1 billion, exactly about $1.2 billion on infrastructure. That's what people want, that's where they want their money to be spent, and that's what I'm doing. All our new surplus, we have had a policy that all new surplus, 75% of all of our surplus will go towards capital infrastructure needs. And the other 25% obviously will help replenish our reserves that got raided by the previous administrations. I mentioned our agreement with the unions. There will not be a strike under my administration with the unions, outside workers and inside workers. I'm very proud to say that I sat down with the unions, negotiated it was at 8 in the morning, but we struck a deal. And it was a fair deal for both. And when it gets renewed, we'll have the same deal. I'm very, very proud that there's no labor disruption in this city. Something small, but it was major to a lot of people, was a 5-cent bag tax. It wasn't so much the 5 cents, it was the nickel and diming. And people were very upset when they were shopping for groceries or clothes. And they said, Bob, I'm sick of paying this 5 cents. So we eliminated the 5-cent bag tax. Again, we're not making money. Now it's up to the store. If they want to charge, they can charge. But many, many stores have said, no, they're not charging anymore. The subway. I was not a fan. I never supported Transit City. I said when I was elected, I'm going to scrap Transit City. We did exactly what the taxpayers wanted. The majority of people, not everyone, but the majority of people wanted a subway. They wanted a subway to Scarborough. We got a subway to Scarborough. That is happening. I'm going to continue to build subways. We're going to connect the Shepherd line first and foremost, and the Downtown Relief line and the Finch line. Again, we don't have LRTs, but if you ask me, St. Clair is an LRT, very close to it. And I do not want to St. Clairize the city. Some people do. I do not. And I am not budging. I've never wavered. People said it can't be done. I think you saw what they've done through council. You can't get the money. You can't. I knew deep down. I had a great relationship with Mr. McGuinty, and I have a fantastic relationship with the finance minister, Jim Flaherty, and we work things out. Unfortunately, I'm still trying to work out a relationship with the Premier Wynne. There's an argument going on now, do we tear down the Gardner or do we keep the Gardner? We put $500 million in keeping the Gardner. It's going to be a big election issue. I want to keep the Gardner. We have to work on it. We have to fix it. But I'm sticking to my positions. I'm not one to waffle, to change my mind. I listen to the people. You can't make everyone happy. It's impossible. But the majority of the people, I believe, want to keep the Gardner. And we put money aside to do that. There was a couple of controversial issues, as you know. Airport expansion. I'm all in favor of expanding the airport, Billy Bishop Airport. I'm not going to waver on that. My opponents might not. I want expansion. Okay? The casino. I never wavered on the casino. I don't know if that will become an election issue, but I'm not going to go back on it. I think a casino up at Woodbine would be the ideal place for it, first and foremost. It's already almost there. You know, it has its pros and cons. But the facts are 75% of people already gamble in the city, be it lotto tickets, be it Proline, be it scratch and win. That is a form of gambling. If people want it, will attract tourism and it will create good paying jobs. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. I agree there's some downfalls to it. But I'll take a position and I'm not going to change that position. That in a nutshell, I've done, and again, I don't want to sound conceited. I know I've been the best mayor the city's ever had. And that's my personal opinion. And I'd be open to take any questions. I just covered everything, so if you want to talk about a specific topic, I'm open to it.
Everyone who from the back who wants to answer questions, to ask questions, go to this chair, please.
Press the microphone. Sit down.
Well, sit down and ask questions.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much.
Your water, buddy?
Your worship, it's a great pleasure to share this very elite get-together here, organized, of course, by our president, Dr. Saris. Let's give Dr. Saris a very big hand for getting this meeting arranged for you. But more than that, sir, the power that we have within this ethnic media has all the push that you need to make you continue to be the best mayor of the city.
Right.
I want to say that, and I'm not saying that boastfully, but ethnic papers has a role to play, and we are here to make that voice heard. I want to congratulate you for the strong stand that you're taking. It is extremely unique. We need good leaders to stick to your points and be here to support you. Also, would like you to, when you would think about these things, to also keep in mind that the ethnic papers need also to survive. See them as your best friend. We have all the push you need, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think you all know I support every ethnic community. I try to get around to all their events, all their holidays. I try to make myself present on shows. You call, I'll be there if I can make it. I make it. I think you know where I come from is Rexdale. It's the most multicultural ward in the whole city.
Janos.
A few years ago, we have heard that there will be new airport being built north of Pickering.
Right.
Is there any correlation in between subway line extending to this airport being built in the future? I have more questions.
That's fine. No, I'm not aware of it. I want to build the Shepherd right out to Scarborough Town Center. Maybe the province has ideas with Metrolinx to take something to the airport, but no, I'm not aware of anything going to Pickering Airport.
In terms of long-term planning and correlation, say, because it looks like what's going on in the city, it's very random, especially in terms of building subway. Is there like long-term planning for in Ontario and say well, Ontario, and because what we heard that Toronto is going to be trying to get Olympics, Ontario is going to build new airport, and you heard no correlation between those long-term plans and between subway lines. I just want to give you a piece of information. Like a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, there was information that Moscow is going to build 170 kilometers of subway within 10 years and 120 subway stations. In Europe, in the major cities, like in capital cities, you hear that it builds like 3 subway stations every year. And we hear all those nonsense arguing about the subways, which used to be like consistent development of the city, not like you're coming with these ideas and it's a great idea and that someone is trying to steal this idea from you.
Yeah.
Where is this coming from, this kind of North American issue of the building subway when in Europe they built like consistently?
I've traveled a lot, and world-class cities have subways. I came in on the first day of council saying I want a Shepherd subway. And I scrapped Transit City. You saw the games that are being played back and forth. I'm not going to name names, but the people that I entrusted in key positions said they were going to support my subways, and that person did not support my subways and decided to go with an LRT when people clearly stated they wanted subways. That's what I ran on, and I'm going to keep fighting for subways. Are you asking for a network? My network right now is to connect the Shepherd first, okay? Obviously, we got the one going into Scarborough. I want to go to Shepherd, the Finch one, and the DRL, the Downtown Relief Line. That's the 3 ones right now. Eventually, I'd like to see it go to Etobicoke. I'd like to have a whole network. But right now, that's what I'm focusing on for the next 4 years.
When talking about LRT, if someone did some research, say I work in Pickering and I use sometimes LRT, and every winter I was getting sick waiting for LRT, high 10 meters above the ground and wind blowing into somewhere. And did a research how many people are going to be affected and asking for sick days and getting sick versus building the subway? Because like I'm hearing all this dispute, and no one talks about poor people who are going to wait on 10 meters above the ground waiting for a train.
Well, you know what? I couldn't agree with you more. We don't live in Florida or California. We have a winter, it's called up here. And streetcars and LRTs are not going to function in the winter. You saw what happened in the winter. There was 80 streetcars that couldn't get out. LRTs are going to have the same problem. The SRT had the same problem. We have to build underground. and they just can't get through their head. They think they can build, if it was beautiful, and, you know, down, I saw it down when I went to Texas, sure, you could have LRTs, it's beautiful, they're never gonna get cold. But you can't have people waiting on St. Clair. I drive along St. Clair sometimes, you're freezing out there. This is not, we have to deal with the city that we live in, and that is a cold winter, and half the year is very cold. If we don't build subways, we're gonna have major problems with gridlock. Gridlock's not gonna change. No, if you have a magic solution to gridlock, there's gonna be another 1 million people in the city in the next 15 to 20 years. Gridlock's only gonna get worse. I'm not in favor of tolls. I do not believe in tolls. I believe in building underground transit. And you wanna get people out of their cars, you go underground transit, people will get out of their cars. They're not gonna get out of their cars waiting for LRTs or waiting for streetcars. They won't.
Can you explain your
Yeah,
proposal?
1 second, Janusz. Peter,
Mr. Mayor, it's the first time I'm meeting you, and I'm very strong supporter of what you accomplished, and I mean that. I'm representing Greek media, and on behalf of the Greek community, I was told to thank you for last year for intervening during the difficult times you and Councillor Thompson and Ms. Vaidilakis could get us out of some difficult situations. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The Business Association of Danforth has some serious concerns about parking. It's a big contributor to the economy of the city. And there was a thought of changing the parking from 9 to 9, instead of 9 to 9 to 6, which is going to give a boost to the business locally. And it's been, I think it's been brought up in council that the aggressive behavior by parking officers, it's not just an idea because people get tickets to reality, which I faced as a media person. And I have a second question.
That's all right.
The second question is, I don't know if I'm going beyond. How does a mayor, based on all this commotion in the past, deal with a personal life and a mayor's life? Because we all feel that our personal life as a tradesman is my own life. How do you separate? And a comment to close this, I admire you for what you've done. But what I sense from your speech today gives me a little bit of uncomfortable concern, and maybe voters might have the same concern. You said you don't deviate from this line. It gives me a little bit of concern. I want a mayor flexible when there's a better idea that comes up, and you said you're not prepared to deviate from this. If you can address those questions, and I apologize if I said something.
Well, let me take the last question first, and then I can go back. When I say I don't deviate, I mean I don't deviate in saving taxpayers' money, controlling the taxpayer. If you come up with a different solution on a development, I think you know I'm very pro-development, and you want to change something, I'm very flexible in that. I'm very flexible in dealing with different ways of producing revenue, looking at different scenarios when it comes to cost cutting. But when I say I'm sticking to my principle is running an efficient government. I'm not deviating. I'm not deviating from subways. I'm not going to go to LRTs. I am not. With the unions, I've been straight up with them. I'm not deviating from that. I'm going to deal with the unions head on. I'm not going to make side deals and let them, run the city like it has in the past. I'm not going to change. I am who I am. Get to your second question. Have I made mistakes on my personal life? You're absolutely right, I made mistakes. I'm human. A lot of people will say, like, why? You know what? I admit, I drank too much a couple of times. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not a drug addict. But did I? Yes, I did. I've admitted to it. People say, well, why did you lie? Well, my first question is, why did everyone in this room lie? We've all lied. I guess because we didn't want to tell the truth. So, we're all human. We've all made mistakes. I can assure you, those days are gone. A lot of people said, you're overweight, Well, I'm down 40 pounds now. I don't know what more I can do to prove to people I'm in shape, I'm moving on, I'm running the city like a well-oiled machine.
That's not a concern.
And well, it was a concern to a lot of people before. And the parking tickets, with these new parking fines that they're saying, like 3 tickets, I didn't support that.
I heard that on the radio on the way down, that there was some new legislation.
I did not support that. So I think it's a cash grab. I get parking tickets, everybody gets parking tickets. It's really up to the police. I'm not the chief, but you should address those concerns with the chief. All I know is I budget, give the chief X number of dollars, he does what he wants with it. And they say they're not on a quota. My personal belief is they are. That's only my personal belief. I could be wrong. But I believe they are on a quota. I think they've got to get X number of tickets, and then they can go home. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I will do anything to try to help small business. I'm a small businessman. So if you want to have a meeting, I'll be more than happy to go to the BIA and meet with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bodeska.
Yes, hi, my name is Buda Skačeva, and I'm a producer of TV show that represents Macedonian community here on Rogers Television called Macedonian Vision. I live in South Etobicoke. Recently we've heard that this part of Toronto is the most polluted part of Toronto.
Most
Polluted with pollution?
Polluted.
Yeah.
polluted. Okay, polluted. Yes. Okay.
So any thoughts about how they should be resolved in the future so our environment would be, quality like that?
I've heard, I was actually down in Etobicoke with respect to a company on Judson with their cement trucks. I was the one, I'm not quite sure, I'm not going to blame the local councillor or anyone else, but the people called me. I didn't realize how bad it was with the dust and the pollution and the concrete mixing plants. As we talk, I'm still trying to get these people to move somewhere else. But as of right, they have the right to be there. So I'm sort of stuck right now. As for in South Etobicoke being the biggest polluter, I haven't heard that. I